Okay, here's a wild thought. What if humanity has been, well, firming itself? Just like a farmer cultivates crops. Is this really provocative idea from an author, MFC, who says that for thousands of years, we've been shaping our own nature to meet certain goals. And the crazy part is, most of the time, we don't even know we're doing it. So yeah, let's dive into that. So this comparison, it gets right to the heart of the author's claim. And yeah, it's supposed to be a little shocking. The author is basically saying we use the exact same logic on ourselves that we use on livestock, right? We cultivate cows for more milk. And according to this argument, we've cultivated humans for more obedience. That's the central idea we're going to explore here. Okay, so you're probably thinking, how is that even possible? Well, to really get what the author's arguing, we need to start with this one fundamental tool they say is hardwired into every single one of us. They call it the logical function, and it's not something you learn in school. It's supposedly an innate, preset part of how we think. It's our built-in ability to look at facts and figure things out, to make deductions. You could almost think of it like the basic operating system that just comes with every human brain. But here's the kicker, the really crucial part of the argument. MFZD says that even though we all have this incredibly powerful tool, we use it, well, blindly. We have no real awareness of how it's working, or what's pointing it in a certain direction, or just how powerful it is in shaping everything around us. It's kind of like we've all been handed a supercomputer, but absolutely no one gave us the user manual. So what happens when an entire species is using a powerful tool without knowing it? Well, the author's argument is that at some point way back in our prehistory, we took that drive to get specific results, and we turned it inward. We started using it on ourselves. And the way the source material lays it out is pretty straightforward. First we figure out how to cultivate plants to get better crops. Then we use that same idea on animals to get more meat or milk. So what's the next logical step in that pattern? According to the author, it was applying that very same thinking to us. So what exactly were we trying to cultivate in ourselves? It wasn't physical stuff, like bigger muscles or being faster. No, it was abstract ideas. The author claims our early societies started to systematically select for traits like dignity, honor, sacrifice, and this one's a big one, blind obedience. We started encouraging these things, just like a farmer would encourage a stronger, more resilient crop. Now, this whole process of self-cultivation, it took a massive turn, according to the author, right around the time we started writing things down. The power to direct this cultivation, to decide what traits were valuable, it shifted away from small communities and into the hands of huge, organized systems. MFZ points to two main new cultivators. First, something they call belief syndicates. So you can think of things like large-scale religions or major political ideologies. These groups would actively select and cultivate people to serve their specific goals. And then second, you have nations and states, which, according to the argument, enjoy and cultivate their citizens to be, well, good citizens who fit the national mold. And this is where we get to the really heavy consequences. The author argues that after thousands of years of this kind of large-scale, systematic cultivation, it hasn't just changed how we live together in societies, it's actually changed our minds. Our very way of thinking. Yeah, this is probably the most radical claim in the whole piece. The author is literally asserting that because different groups, different nations, different belief systems were all cultivating for different traits, the human thinking function itself is no longer uniform. It actually varies between different populations. In other words, this whole process has fundamentally altered how different groups of people think. And the fallout from that is, well, massive. The argument goes that this divergence in thinking is what created our social hierarchies. The ideas of high and low, noble and ignoble. It's even led to what the author calls thinking function pathologies, which are basically bugs or malfunctions in our core reasoning. The end result? A humanity that's fractured, broken up by all these competing cultivation programs. So after laying out this entire pretty intense argument, all the way from a blind logical function to these global systems of cultivation, the author leaves us with a really profound challenge to think about. I mean, just think about the world today, right? We've got over 200 countries. That's more than 200 separate systems, and each one has its own unique way of, you guessed it, cultivating its people. So, based on everything we've just talked about, MFZ throws out this direct challenge. If all these nations are really just the result of separate,
competing, and ultimately blind cultivation programs that have literally fractured our species. Can we honestly call any of them a truly human society?
And that leads to the final question the author leaves us with, and they don't give an answer. If our current way of doing things, all our societies, are flawed because of this history, then what should a human society, in the strictest sense, actually look like? What would one look like if it was built consciously for everyone's benefit, based on our real nature? And maybe the biggest question of all, what would we choose to cultivate then?